My name is Ted Zacks. I've been involved with Federation since its inception. I was on the board of the Jewish Community Fund and Council in the mid-'80s, and the community came to a point where it wasn't raising enough money for local organizations, so a steering committee was formed to look at how we could better organize the community and fund it on a sustainable basis, though we didn't use the term sustainable back then. Anyway, Arthur Folks chaired the steering committee. There were a pretty sizable group of people. Malcolm Weinstein and I worked closely on working with Arthur and putting together a proposal. At that time, many of the Jewish communities across the continent were federated. That means they worked together for both pro-Israel and local agencies, whereas in Vancouver we had separate campaigns. In any event, we developed a proposal. We spent a lot of time getting a consensus in support of becoming a federation, and that consensus developed in '86, '87. Stephen Drysdale was hired as the first executive director. Bob Coleman was elected the first president at an annual general meeting. Actually, the annual general meeting was of the Jewish Community Fund and Council because the Federation is actually a successor to the Fund and Council. So that's how Federation was born, and the local campaign leadership agreed that it would merge its operations into the organization. That's how it got started, and I was active in the executive committee from the outset and stayed involved for quite a few years. I became president in 1991 and was president for 2 years, during which the Gulf War occurred, so it was a pretty hectic time for all of Eretz Yisrael. And but it was a very fulfilling time. The Federation took time to gain sufficient acceptance community-wide over a period of a decade or even more, but ultimately it's become very successful, I think. I held various executive positions and chaired allocations, Israel affairs, campaign, things like that. I think a key development for the community was the establishment of the Jewish Community Foundation. It was really through the impetus of Helen Coleman that the foundation was born. She was very quiet, but very keen about the establishment of a foundation for the community, and it has proven to be exceptionally successful. So I think it's important for the future of the community that we have an endowment fund to look for to fund both existing programs and new opportunities. It's exciting.
What was your starting point? What triggered you, or what got you involved in that aspect of being a part of our community?
It's actually a good question. Easy answer, Camp Hatikva.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I became a Zionist. I learned about Israel, developed a connection with it, and listened to the stories that Leo Marcus told us all at the campsite. And I remained involved with camp for many years, and that ultimately led me to become involved with the Jewish Community Fund and Council because it provided scholarship funds for campers to go to the various camps around Vancouver.
In addition to the foundation, any other particular milestones or achievements that, kind of stand out for you?
Well, I think of achievements in relation to the Federation and the community, not personal. Mm-hmm. But I think what was called Partnership 2000 and is now called Partnership Together is a significant program. And the partnership on the Canadian side is all of the Canadian Jewish communities outside of Toronto and Montreal. They have their own partnerships. But Coast to Coast Canada is partnered with the northernmost tip of Israel called Etzba HaGalil. And for the last 18 or 20 years, I've been actively involved in the partnership, as have others from the Federation, in helping to nurture the relationship between the Jews of Greater Vancouver and the Jews of Eitzbah Galil, and particularly kids. And it's been satisfying. I think we've had a lot of success in improving the quality of life in that part of Israel. And the people in Eitzbah Galil, to me, are the Chalutzim of the 21st century. You know, they're living on the border. They're stuck in between Lebanon and Syria, and it's not a friendly environment. So at the same time, they're welcoming, they're nurturing, and they are truly lovely people.
Why is Federation so important to you? What's that connection?
I think it's a key element of Jewish tradition that we work together to make the world a better place. That's not limited to Jewish community and Jewish life or Jewish people, but that's certainly a focus. And Federation is the key mechanism by which I feel I'm able to make the world a better place, both locally and nationally and internationally. So it's a great avenue for me as a Jew. I think it's a great avenue for me as a person. And I think it gives opportunities for everybody in the community to become as involved as they want in whatever ways they want. That's why it's terrific.
Thinking about our community today as a whole, what do you think some of the more significant challenges are that we're facing today?
I think our two biggest challenges are assimilation. The younger generations are less involved in Jewish life, less effectively educated Jewishly, and we know about the intermarriage statistics. So it's a challenge, and it's not limited to Vancouver, of course. It's certainly continent-wide, if not worldwide. And the second major challenge, I think, is the diminution of the relationship between individual Jews of the diaspora and Israel. And I think that's critical because I see the relationship of Jews and Israelis, or at least Jewish Israelis, as being symbiotic. We need Israel, and I think, possibly to a lesser extent, Israel needs a diaspora to be supportive. And I don't mean just in a financial way, I mean to be there for them and with them. And I think that it is evident that fewer and fewer people are feeling that connection or the passion for it. And I think that's a challenge for our future as well as Israel's. I think that Federation has had a number of notable successes over the 30 years. I think it's matured and continuing to mature. I think it's gained pretty widespread acceptance. One of the elements that I think is critical is that we have been able to garner and develop new leadership. And I think it's particularly evident at this stage of the game, not just in Federation, but across the Jewish community. We have a very substantial number of institutions being led by young, exceptionally capable people. They've taken on the responsibility for various community organizations and institutions, and they're improving them, carrying them forward. And I think this is as exciting a Jewish community as there is in North America. There are two things that I feel particularly are important for me. One is that, as I indicated earlier, my work in Federation has enabled me to make at least my part of the world a little better for having been there. I've tried to be involved in a host of ways, and I feel I have done it, and I'm continuing to do it, and I get a lot of joy from that. The other key factor for me is that I've made some terrific friends here, across Canada, and certainly in Israel. And it just makes me a happier person. So there's lots to be gained by becoming involved, and I'm certainly evidence of that.